Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, May 30, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamp that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what that's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future weather in your specific area. Alright, so let's just take a look at the US National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 7:21 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So this just came out an hour ago, considering that it came out at 6:21 p.m. Jamaica time. And as you can see here, tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. And we know that the first name on the list, highly anticipated, Andrea for sure. However, we need to continuously glance over on the eastern Pacific side of things. This is tropical storm Alvin. Was looking way more impressive yesterday. We can see all of the clouds, the showers and thunderstorms associated with it. You can also see that it's definitely being sheared from southwest to northeast into portions of Mexico, but most of the worst weather is still out to sea, although some of it is coming inland into portions of coastal western Mexico for sure. We can clearly see that it's definitely pushing towards the north, just like what the Hurricane Center stated would have happened. We see that northwest movement, and we also see the gold that represents the tropical storm force wind still staying all the way out to sea. According to the Hurricane Center, the system is to continue maintaining tropical storm status up until Saturday morning, where it's supposed to be downgrading back to a tropical depression. As of right now, it's packing maximum sustained winds of 50 miles per hour, moving towards the north-northwest at 10 miles per hour. And we know that if it's packing maximum sustained winds of 50 miles per hour, so right there, it is a medium range tropical storm. It's not a high-end tropical storm closer to a category 1 hurricane, and it's not a low-end tropical storm closer to a tropical depression. So it's medium right there in the middle, and it's expected to dissipate by the time we head into Sunday. And we can clearly see that it's going to be heading all the way up into the Baja Peninsula. Let's see exactly what occurs, if it will actually maintain that strength. But behind Alvin, we still have an area that could develop over the next 7 days. That's another code yellow that the Hurricane Center is watching. Just read what it states. It says here, an airflow pressure could form by the middle part of next week offshore of the coast of Central America and southern Mexico. Environmental conditions appear favorable for some development of this system thereafter, while it moves generally westward to west-northwestward at around 10 to 15 miles per hour. And we see that they've given the system a 0% chance of cyclone formation within the next 48 hours. That's the next 2 days. And a 30% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. So it's going to be pushing westward, if not west-northwestward. Definitely making its way to the south of Mexico once again. And we know the next name on the list that's following Alvin is going to be Barbara for sure. Alright, so we need to take a look at some expert insight. This is Andy Hazelton. He's actually an associate scientist at the University of Miami, and from time to time he makes some very accurate posts about the Atlantic hurricane season. Now there's been a lot of talk about something possibly developing across the eastern Pacific near Central America, some kind of Central American gyre kind of thing, maybe spinning up something in the western or southwestern Caribbean, especially from the GFS. But let us get his take on what's going to be happening or what could happen. He stated here, the GFS and ECMWF actually have a fairly similar upper level pattern with broad troughing across the Gulf and Northwest Caribbean next weekend. The reason the GFS is so aggressive in developing a cyclone is that it has a lot more convection, which erodes the trough, diabetic PV erosion for you synaptic nerd, and creates a more favorable upper pattern over this time. This then allows more convection, further eroding the trough, etc., etc., a feedback process, and eventually a tropical cyclone forms. It's a valid process, but the GFS has a tendency to overdo convection and convective spin-up of circulations in this region, so development is often much slower than it shows or doesn't happen at all. Worth watching this area as the MJO moves in, but be skeptical of what the GFS is doing. And he highlighted some maps right here showing the upper level pattern. So there's definitely going to be some kind of trough. We see that southwesterly upper level flow that should be making its way across portion of Jamaica by around, let's say, June 6, 2025. We see there's a lot of moisture according to the GFS, not only across the eastern Pacific but western Caribbean near Jamaica, and we know that if this actually takes place, there could be some amount of isolated flash flooding taking place. We see these high cloud tops fanning out. We see something right here trying to formulate to the east of Honduras and Nicaragua, very interesting, to the southwest of Jamaica. Not so much on the Euro model at all, but we do see some moisture, and we also see that upper level flow like what the GFS was showing. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly what takes place exactly. But clearly the GFS, like Andy State, is overdoing it as the GFS usually does. So if you hear a lot of talk in the weather community for something possibly forming near Jamaica around the first week of June, if not maybe into the second week of June, then this is what we're talking about. Let us wait for the Hurricane Center to show something. Let us wait for conditions to actually be 100% favorable, especially considering that there's going to be a lot of upper level wind shear out there before we actually take some of the rumors that are going to be spreading. Alright, so let's just take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a tropical wave right here to the southwest of Jamaica. We see that we have the frontal system extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the north of the main development region. And we have a ridge of high pressure right here to the north that we know is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds, not to mention the Saharan dust off of Africa, across the main development region into the Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can actually see the clouds associated with that tropical wave right here to the southwest of Jamaica. We can see some upper level cirrus clouds being streaked up from southwest to northeast across section of the central to the eastern Caribbean. We see some low level patches of clouds being steered from east to west in the ridge of high pressure flow, and we still make out the clouds associated with that frontal system extending from northern portion of the North Atlantic. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Friday, May 30, 2025. It was stated that rainfall would have been in the forecast for parts of eastern Jamaica on Friday morning, also affecting sections of some central and western parishes during Friday afternoon. And we know western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth. Central parishes, I know we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. While eastern parishes, I know we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. It was this side of the island that was expected to get on some morning rainfall, and that definitely occurred. I live in St. Thomas, and I got in on some early morning isolated shower in my portion of the parish. Nothing too significant to cause any flooding, just some light to slightly moderate rainfall. That was basically it. Sure, they had more rainfall maybe across coastal areas of Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne at that time. And then at around, let's see, there was another image that was posted. I definitely posted a visible satellite image somewhere in here. Let me find it on the Instagram page. So yes, there is a visible satellite image that was posted. It must have not have been posted on the Twitter page, but clearly we had some clouds showing some isolated, well, bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated thunder showers to sections of some central and western parishes. We see those sparkling yellow dots in there that represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, across section of northern St. Catherine, southwestern St. Mary's, southern St. Anne, section of Trelawney, northern Manchester, northern St. Elizabeth, southern St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland at that time for sure. Definitely had the isolated thunder shower activity. This was around 3:15 p.m. Jamaica time. Then another post was just made. As a matter of fact, it was made within the hour. It was made at around 6:45 p.m. and it highlighted that we're definitely still getting on some strong thunder shower activity across sections of Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. James on this Friday evening. They're definitely getting in on that action. We see the blues into the greens, into the yellows, oranges, reds, the blacks in there as well. That represents that deep convection, that cumulonimbus cloud action, upper level clouds being shared off to the south by that upper level wind. We see the sparkling white dots that represent lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. A lot of thunderstorms taking place at this time. The time 7:31 p.m. Well, at that time when this was posted, this was 6:45 p.m. We're going to be showing what's happening right now shortly. But if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost sunlight, we can see that low level flow of the clouds coming in from the east or the east southeast, definitely building across sections of some central and western parishes for sure. And we saw that even while we're losing the sunlight, we still had some thunderstorm taking place across section of the western end of the island for sure. The infrared close-up satellite imagery confirming the thunderstorms that took place across inland areas of some central parishes, as well as section of some western parishes, even as we speak. Gonna be showing the latest shortly. But if we take a look right here at the live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel at around 1:36 p.m, we can see that it was definitely sunny across the halfway tree area. People walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing significant in terms of bad weather took place today. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Even the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website is confirming that rainfall that took place today, especially across sections of some central and western parishes for sure, definitely gotten on some decent rainfall across the island, especially across the northwest today. And we have some comments confirming what the weather was like in some of our followers and subscribers areas. We have Active 4081 sitting hot and dry weather Jamaica. We also have Randale Green sitting good evening weather Jamaica. We get some rain in Brownstown. Well, rain and lightning and thunder in Brownstown St. Anne today. But it stopped raining now in Brownstown St. Anne. It is cloudy skies now in Brownstown State. And we have Lawrence Davidson 6195 sitting, I'm enjoying the cool showers just as predicted, and my solar panels are getting a nice wash off. What parish is that, Laurent? Let us know next time, please. Even on our Instagram page, we had the comments pouring in. Bonner_Bay sitting, drizzling in Mobe, can see lightning in Hanover direction. Thanks for confirming. Heather.Lower stating it's raining cats and dogs in Montego Bay. And finally we have who is this? One Ryan._ stating yes, we're getting big thunderstorm now in Hanover. Thanks for confirming as well. So let us see what's happening. No across the island. So the latest still image, just reloaded it, is showing 0025 UTC. Oh my god, look at that deep thunderstorm activity across sections of Westmoreland, maybe even section of Nick Grill. That is 0025 UTC, which is actually 7:25 p.m. So this just came out 9 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:34 p.m. right now. Let me see if I can load up the the Rick's Cafe cam. I'm pretty sure that the Rick's Cafe cam, let me see. The Rick's Cafe cam should be live. If anything, it should be showing. If it's not down, it should be showing some of that lightning. I don't know how to work this website's cam at all. I'm trying to get the live cam and I think it's showing me something from earlier today. Hold on 1 second. Nope, don't see anything. This looks like it's showing something outdated. Yeah, I wish it was showing something right now. Let me see if I can find the other live camera. Hold on, is this it? Is this the live camera? I have no idea. Either way, if this is the live camera, there should be a lot of lightning flashes taking place. I don't see anything at all right here. Let me see, is the Coca-Cola live camera showing? There's another beach out there in Western Jamaica. Remember, I used to look at this one when it was pouring in Negril. Is this one working? Love the live cameras over there in Western Jamaica, you know, as they're always getting all of the bad weather. Doesn't seem like it's working at all, man. Well, See Jamaica. Hopefully they put up some cameras over there in Western Jamaica. Either way, they're getting some thunderstorms. Look at the sparkling white dust. Definitely, we see the upper level clouds being streaked out towards the south, bringing more overcast skies to sections of St. Elizabeth. But it's nighttime now, so they don't even will be noticing that overcast sky activity. Some thunderstorm activity is still affecting portions of Hanover as well. But clearly, Westmoreland is getting the worst of the action as we speak. And the latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, we're going to reload that latest Guantanamo as well as the latest Cayman radar. Let us see what's happening right now. The latest Cuban Doppler radar is showing the latest timestamp, which is what? Well, it looks like, is it gonna load? Hold on, it's still loading. Hasn't finished loading as yet. Let's give it some time to load. The Guantanamo Bay Cuban Navy radar, U.S. Navy radar, not showing much of anything across northeastern Jamaica or the western peninsula of Haiti. We do see some isolated shores to the northwest of Guantanamo, though. Regarding the Cuban Doppler radar, alright, here we go. Up to date now, it's showing up to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7:30 p.m. Jamaica time. So this just came out 7 minutes ago, considering that 7:37 p.m. now. Look at the moderate to heavy rainfall in the yellows, even some oranges and reds across sections of Westmoreland, section of Hanover. This is ridiculous, and this is not ground clutter at all. We know that sometimes we see ground clutter across the northern and northeastern sections. That's a glitch in the system, because especially considering that we don't see it on the satellite across here, but we see it over here. So it's making sense, especially considering that we're also seeing it across the blues, across the seas here. We don't usually see ground clutter across the sea. It's usually across the land. So they definitely got it on some heavy rainfall. We know the heavy rainfall is represented by the yellows into the golds, into the oranges. And look, it looks like some severe rainfall or some severe weather, as we can see by the reds across some of these spots. My goodness, Western Jamaica can surely get it. I wouldn't be surprised if there might have been a freak storm or two, or if not a lightning storm or two. I wouldn't be surprised if some people are without electricity as we speak. I mean, look at all of the sparkling white dust. That's a lot of lightning out there. I hope people are keeping safe. Wow, severe thunderstorm, and most of us over here in Eastern Jamaica are baking in the heat. No problem. We can also see the Cayman radar confirming that rainfall in the blues, greens, yellows that represent some light to moderate to heavy rainfall across Western Jamaica. Don't see much of anything across the Cayman Islands, but we do see some isolated shores across central and southern Cuba, some isolated shores to the southeast and south of the Cayman Islands right now. Regarding the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, we see that there's nothing taking place in terms of bad weather, dry, rare cobra, definitely chilling. People in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place as we speak. Regarding the temperatures right now, we can still have 27 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Saturday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for AT&T on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday. We can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight yellows that represents at least up to 1 degree Celsius above normal temperatures, and we know that the normal temperature for the month of May across Jamaica is around 89 degrees Fahrenheit. When that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 31.6 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 31 to 32.6 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on a Saturday. And unfortunately, we have at least one maintenance outage advisory to hear from my JPS Online Twitter page that we have to highlight. I know that we have to highlight this because we know that when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, please let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Saturday, May 31, 2025. We're referring to Coral Spring in the parish of Trelawney from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. and that's just about it for the maintenance outages, and I'm sure people are grateful. Well, we have some tips right here to beat the heat. It stays here: dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated. Drink lots of water throughout the day even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we see an abundance of dry air across the open waters of the Atlantic, the eastern Atlantic into the main development region. A lot of dry air. We know that the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain this time of year, making it harder for us to get storms this time of year. But what we're liking that we're seeing is the yellows. The yellows represents the low end of the scale in terms of dry air that we're seeing here. The blues represents the moist air. We see a lot of moist air across the eastern Pacific, the intertropical convergence zone of the Atlantic, and portion of the Caribbean. That's what we want. We want the low end of the scale in terms of the dry air and the moist air so that we get more rainfall to keep water in our pipes. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast now, on May 31, that's tomorrow, we clearly saw the beginning of this loop for the Saharan dust. We should definitely be in the clear. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a lot of rainfall tomorrow, Saturday for sure. Then look at that as we head into June 1. Crazy. Saharan dust pushing through into the Caribbean. June 2 even more so, especially across the northeastern Caribbean, wherever we see the purples into the pinks. If that's not purple, maybe that's pink. That's the vigorous plume, the strongest plume for sure. Hazy sky is definitely going to be in the forecast as we head into early next week for sure. So ensure that you have your meds handy. Regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 1 p.m. on Saturday, and we see the waves are definitely dying down to the north of Colombia. We used to see a lot of pinks that represents up to 2 to 3 meter wave heights. What we're seeing is just some slight purples, maybe 1.5 to 2 meter wave heights at least. We're seeing some light shades of blues to dark shades of blues as well. That represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height up to 1.5 meter wave height. And we can clearly see why. The lowest waves should be right here across the Gulf into the northwestern Caribbean. We have the least amount of wind. That's anywhere from 5 to 10 knots at least. But clearly we see that strong easterly flow, averaging anywhere from 10 to 15 up to 20 knots, maybe even gusting to 25 knots. Especially where we see the slight yellows, that's where the strongest winds will be. So it makes sense that the highest waves are down there. But regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, across Jamaica or around Jamaica, up to 1.2 meter wave height to the north of Portland, 1 meter wave height to the north of St. Anne, 0.6 of a meter wave height to the north of Hanover, 0.8 of a meter wave height to the south of Westmoreland, to the south of St. Elizabeth, 1.2 meter wave height, 1.3 meter wave height to the south of Clarendon, and as you can see here, maybe 1.3 to 1.4 meter wave height in and around St. Thomas. And that's because of the winds that are expected. We see more of an east-southeasterly kind of flow on the north coast, more of an easterly flow on the south coast. We also see that the air should be piling up once again, maybe across section of some central and western parishes, if not some northern and western parishes. We'll see how that goes. Either way, wherever we have the least amount of winds across the island, that's where we know the clouds are going to be building. Then we have that daytime heating rainfall for sure. So look out for that during the afternoon hours. And if we take a look at the upper level winds should be coming in from the northwest tomorrow, so we might just get in on something similar to what we had today when those cloud tops were being sheared off towards the south. May bring some overcast skies to the section of southern Jamaica once more. And regarding the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both valid for 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 6 a.m. Jamaica time. And what do both maps show? We see some rainfall across the waters to our south on the Euro. We also see some rainfall across the far eastern end of the island, maybe St. Thomas, Portland, 6 a.m. GFS is showing that 2 for St. Thomas, Portland. We also see the rainfall to our south. The GFS is trying to incorporate sections of the south coast in that morning. Rainfall, maybe southern St. Elizabeth, southwestern Manchester, southern Clarendon, southwestern St. Catherine. Very interesting. We'll see if that actually unfolds. Then by around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's actually 1 p.m. Jamaica time. Look at all of this rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, western parishes on both the Euro and the GFS malls. The GFS trying to make it seem like it's going to be more so eastern, northern, and western parishes. We'll see how it actually goes either way. Look out for some rainfall, maybe across sections of St. Thomas, Portland, section of St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth, northern Manchester, northern Clarendon, northern St. Catherine for sure. Could be even more of those areas. Euro is definitely adamant about that going to be eastern, central, and western Jamaica. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps here from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that it's going to be raining across the island within the next 24 hours. We see all of the greens into the yellows, oranges, and reds represents close up to an inch of rainfall across the entire island. Not everywhere though, so don't be upset if you don't get rainfall. The GFS only going up to at least 0.52 of an inch of rainfall, and whatever happens, we'll definitely take it because we're in the month of May. And in Kingston's bar graph is being shown right here at the top. We usually receive close to 140 millimeters of rainfall for the month of May. In Montego Bay's bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom. We usually receive close to 6 inches of rainfall for the month of May. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of May or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website to show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS Supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next 168 hours. That's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so we're at Sunday morning. We see some rainfall across the eastern end. We see rainfall to our southwest. Then on Sunday afternoon, look at that rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. What does the GFS show for Sunday morning? Rainfall across the far eastern end, rainfall across the waters to our southwest, just like the Euro. And then on Sunday afternoon, look at that. It's rainfall more so across eastern, northern, and western parishes. Let's see what Monday morning is showing. On Monday morning, maybe some isolated showers across the southern and eastern end again. We also see an abundance of moisture across the Bahamas, western Cuba, the western Caribbean, and the southwestern Caribbean. Monday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes in Jamaica. What does Monday morning look like on the GFS? Just like the Euro, we see that moisture across the Bahamas, Florida, the western portion of Cuba, the Cayman Islands, the southwestern Caribbean, and the eastern Jamaica getting in on some isolated showers too. Then on Monday afternoon, it looks to be more so eastern, northern, and western parishes with that isolated shower activity. What does Tuesday morning show? On Tuesday morning, still seeing a lot of moisture across the Bahamas into the western Caribbean. Some isolated showers across the far eastern end of the island of Jamaica. Not really seeing much of anything for Tuesday afternoon though. What does the GFS show for Tuesday morning? Look at that moisture extending from Jamaica into the southwestern Caribbean and the western Caribbean. Very interesting. Then on Tuesday afternoon, looks like rainfall still should be affecting a portion of the eastern end and the northwestern end. We'll see how that actually goes. Then on Wednesday morning, we're not really seeing much of anything across Jamaica. Maybe some isolated showers across the far eastern end. Then on Wednesday afternoon, we see that rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Wednesday morning, not really seeing much of anything. Wednesday afternoon, look at that. Looks like rainfall should be across the far eastern and the far western end. We also see an abundance of moisture across the western Caribbean into Central America. Very interesting. Let us see what Thursday morning is showing. Thursday morning, not really much of anything. Thursday afternoon, maybe rainfall across the far eastern end, and we're going to be stopping right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Friday, June 6th, and we see some rainfall to our north. We see rainfall across the far eastern end. We also see an abundance of moisture across the eastern Pacific and Central America. What does the GFS show? Thursday morning, rainfall to our north, rainfall across the western Caribbean, rainfall across the eastern Pacific. Thursday afternoon, western Jamaica, that isolated shower activity. And then we see that by the end of the next 7 days, Friday, June 6th, look at the abundance of moisture across the western Caribbean. Lots of moisture. Look at the yellows, oranges, reds, some kind of airflow pressure trying to formulate. Definitely in line with what Andy Hazelton was showing at the beginning of the video. Lots of moisture. Don't really see that on the GFS side of things with any L that represents an area of low pressure trying to formulate across the Caribbean side. We'll see how it actually goes. And regarding the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are actually showing some very similar rainfall totals for the next 7 days. Clearly, we know that anything in the dark reds, purples into the pinks, represents anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of rainfall, and that's what's being highlighted for areas extending all the way from the Bahamas, Florida, Cuba, sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Trinidad and Tobago getting in on some of that. And look at that. Both of these maps are showing the same amount of rainfall in terms of the rainfall totals. While other areas that are shaded in the greens, yellows, oranges, and reds, like Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, St. Lucia, section of Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, section of the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands. Most of these areas getting at least up to 1 inch of rainfall at most. And we know that it can be a bit more than that in some isolated spots. But regarding Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast maps, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS still going all the way up into the oranges, especially across the eastern end. The Euro not showing the rainfall totals there today, but GFS up to at least 59 millimeters of rainfall. We'll see how that actually plays out, and we see that section of central and western Jamaica are also shaded in the blues and greens, so definitely going to be rainfall across those areas during the afternoon hours. And whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Alright, taking a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic. Before the sun went down, as stated, there are some low-level clouds pushing through the eastern Caribbean as we speak. Also see the usual thunderstorm activity across portion of northern South America, intersection of Central America. And if you take a look at the Doppler radar imagery of the northeastern Caribbean, let us see what's happening near Puerto Rico. Not seeing much of anything across Puerto Rico, but we do see some isolated shores across Dominican Republic, across Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica. Loading these images from earlier today, not really seeing much of anything across Puerto Rico at all. The Barbados radar, however, show that we got in some amount of isolated shower activity today, most of which is to our west of Barbados now. Section of Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago also getting in on that rainfall as we speak. Just some light to moderate to some slightly heavy rainfall. We also see some rainfall across sections of Cuba, some rainfall across section of northeastern Venezuela, Guyana getting in some of the action, so too northwestern Guatemala. And if we take a look at where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that the most rainfall should be across northern South America, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Costa Rica, Panama, section of Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, section of Trinidad and Tobago. We also see some of that rainfall expected section of Grenada, section of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, section of Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, sections of Florida getting in some of that action, so too southern Guatemala, El Salvador, as well as eastern Nicaragua. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with that forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.